Welcome to One-on-One with Expert Flyer. I'm your host, Lisa Caslin, and today we're talking about things that really get under your skin when you're flying. Our guest today is Collin Czarnecki, and he is a research analyst with a company called Genfare, and he'll talk about that in a moment. They recently surveyed about 2,000 people to identify the worst in-flight annoyances, and they also uncovered some interesting bad behaviors, and he's going to tell us all about it. So thanks for coming, Collin.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about Genfare. What do they do exactly, and why did you guys do this survey?
Sure. Yeah, we partner with transit agencies around the country to really offer fare management and collection solutions for whether it's light rail or bus. And that's basically, relates to when you're going onto a light rail or a bus or any sort of public transportation, how you're paying to get onto to have those rides. So we basically offer those. Yeah.
You create the technology that runs that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So why the interest in why the interest in flying snafus?
Sure. I think this really came up with when you look at really today we have all this access to technology and can really plan any of our trips on our phone, within the push of a button or tap on a screen. But I think the one aspect of travel that we can't plan for is the behavior of fellow travelers and who we're traveling with. I think when it comes to that aspect of travel, it's really a toss-up. So we're interested in learning a little bit more about, travel behavior, travel etiquette, some things that maybe might not be discussed with someone you're sitting next to, just because you might want to avoid potential conflict or maybe just a little too shy to let people know what's really bothering you. But we wanted to tap into that and see sort of what the proper quote-unquote etiquette was for really a variety of different transportation methods. So we did flying, public transportation, and then also ride sharing, Uber and Lyft.
Okay, very, very good. All right, well, we want to hear all about the in-flight pet peeves. So tell us a little bit about the findings. What did you learn?
Sure, yeah, I think right off the bat, one of the more surprising aspects was in relation to getting comfortable on a flight. We found that 64% of respondents said that it was okay to take their shoes off on a flight.
Right.
And I think what was more surprising was that 20% say that it was okay to take their socks off. So apparently people are getting really comfortable on flights. But, I think especially today with legroom being such a premium on flights, on one hand, it's kind of hard to blame people that, it is hard to get comfortable, especially, like I said, with legroom being a premium. So, but it looks like people are willing to take the liberty of going one step further and taking their shoes or socks off. So
I guess so. And I don't want to, ruin the punchline, but when you get into your ranked annoyances, one of them is body odor, right? So I guess people don't mind if they take their own shoes and socks off, but they don't like when their neighbor does it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's sort of that ripple effect where you might not be aware of it, but other people are definitely, like you said, when we get into the actual top annoyances, body odor ranks number 3. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a correlation there, perhaps. So.
Absolutely, and I also noticed you had asked about Do you like to talk to people, or do you not want to talk to people? I forget how it was specifically phrased, but like almost 60% of people don't want to talk to their neighbor.
Sure. Yeah, that was another really interesting data point within this survey. Whether or not people, first of all, view flying as a way to meet someone new. Usually you're definitely going to be sharing some close quarters for at least a few hours, depending on where you're flying. But yeah, it turns out that almost 60% prefer not to talk to their seatmates. So we are curious, to find out a lot of people that do like talking to their seatmate. How are they ending that conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or nipping it in the bud before it starts.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we can all relate to, getting on a flight and just kind of having the mindset, I can't wait to, get into this new book, or, read my Kindle or listen to a podcast. But, and then sometimes you never know who you're going to end up sitting next to that might put a damper on those plans. But
so how did they kind of cut those conversations short, or what was their tactic? How do they avoid those conversations?
Sure. Yeah, I think what's really interesting about that is that 37% said that they just simply put on their headphones to kind of tune them out, and that was followed by reading a book, which is 24%, and then looking at your phone, and surprisingly, only 12% were actually willing to, actually tell the person that, hey, I'm going to
that's harsh.
Yeah. So
I don't want to talk to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of just letting them know right up front that they're not ready to talk to them. So.
I just wonder on some level if this is an age thing too.
Right.
I just wondered if, a younger person is probably more apt to maybe want to talk, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And somebody who's kind of jaded, maybe a business traveler who's on the road constantly, is like, look, leave me alone. I just want to do my work. I just want to, kind of vegetate here and get this flight over with,
Yeah, exactly. Especially for, like you said, frequent flyers, what their method is, if they kind of already have, they're seasoned travelers and they already have their go-to methods, and when it comes to maybe they put their headphones on just right off the bat before they even get to the seat.
Yeah, it's their little wall. Yep, I can see that. I can see that. All right, so get into the top. What are the top 5 annoyances as you have them ranked?
Sure. Yes, I know we kind of touched on one of them, but number one was getting your seat kicked. I think that, that is, and I think there's another correlation here with that. Number one might relate to number 5 on the list, which we'll get to. But number 2 is a crying baby or a crying child. I think there's another relation to number 5 on the list for that one too. But body odor was number 3. A talkative passenger, which you just touched on, and then sort of possibly this connection to getting your seat kicked and a crying baby or child is inattentive parents at number 5.
Yes.
So,
You know what I was surprised at also? One of my personal pet peeves. I'm tall and I have really long legs, and if the passenger in front of me just puts his seat back even like an inch, my knees are just crushed. And I was surprised that the seat kicking kind of came before, or I don't even think, I'm not sure was that even on the list, like getting your knees squashed by the seat ahead of you. Maybe not.
Yeah. Yes, we have reclining seats, which also ranked on here, which was, which is number 10. 10 was reclining seat. So
yeah. Well, for all those people that are getting their seat kicked, it's me, because you're crushing my knees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, especially with, when it comes to even some shorter flights too, it's almost reclining seat. It's like just out of courtesy for the person behind you. It's kind of like, maybe we should just kind of keep the seat up straight, because you never know who's getting crushed behind you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was also interesting, we talked about this before we got started, that, the top 5 anyway, maybe you could argue somewhat that, getting the seat kicked might have something to do with the airlines because of lack of leg room and all of that. But for the most part, it's really connected to passengers' behavior, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got, I think you mentioned, we chatted about this earlier, just in terms of what could actually be truly prevented, by the airlines. And really, when you look at this list, it's really human behavior. I mean, there, maybe with the exception of putting some more restrictions on reclining seats. Pretty much everything else on here is definitely up to the individual to change, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is. So what do we do about that? Do you have any advice for travelers? Okay, they like to take their shoes off, but hey, you don't like it when I take my shoes off because my feet stink, So.
Exactly. Yeah. I think,
well, my feet really don't stink, but I was just using that as an example.
Right. I think that's true. It's really kind of eye-opening to realize what you do could definitely have an effect on someone else. Whether you realize it or not, and even going back to the taking your shoes off, with 60+% of people thinking that it's okay to take their shoes off, but then 26% saying that that's one of their top annoyances. So it's like, I think if we can meet in the middle here, we might eliminate. We might eliminate one of the top annoyances. Again, not saying that everyone's feet smell, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. That's right. Think of others, not just yourself. And we talked about this too, because ExpertFlyer had done a family travel survey. This is actually a couple of years ago, but I know for a fact that this hasn't really changed much. And we asked travelers how often or if they took bin space that really wasn't theirs, it wasn't the bin space right above their seat, and almost 75%, 3/4 of them said, yeah, I do that. But of that population, 60% said, yeah, but I only did that because someone took my spot, So again, it goes back to that whole, come on, do the right thing. That's all. If everybody does the right thing, we'll have a much more comfortable experience.
Yeah, that's going back to that sort of domino effect, and I think you had mentioned within those results too that some of the top concerns for families was not being able to sit next to each other on a flight, and that might relate to some of these top annoyances with inattentive parents. Well, maybe they're just not able to sit next to their kids on the flight, or like you said, maybe they're 5 rows back trying to put their carry-on in the bin because their spot got taken up.
Exactly. And on some level, right, that is an airline issue, because now with this a la carte pricing, families are trying to cut costs, and they're trying to get the best price on the seat, and now they have to pay more to ensure that their family gets to sit in close proximity to one another. Well, don't complain then if the kid is whatever, blowing bubbles in your face throughout the whole flight, or
kicking your seat, or
kicking your seat. Exactly. Blame the airline. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
All right. Any final words? Anything else that we should know? And then maybe tell us if we want to learn more about the survey. Where should we go? Where should we go look at it?
Sure. Yeah, I think like we mentioned, there might be something that we all can learn from some of these results. Whether it's behavior that we're already doing, or maybe like you mentioned, not being able to sit next to some family members and just physically not being able to be that attentive parent just based on where you're sitting. But I think overall these results really show that our behavior definitely has an effect on others and vice versa. It might be a little helpful next time you book your flight, just to kind of give these results just at least a glance, just to be aware. Yeah. But,
so where do we go to Genfare.com, or is that how where do we find it? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's under our resources page on Genfare.com.
Okay,
and
terrific.
You'll find all the survey results and a few other findings that we discovered in the survey results too that are interesting. As it relates to flying. So.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much, Collin. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Have a terrific day.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye.